Hello, everyone. It is Jaime Jo Wright here today with Madlet Musings podcast, and I am excited to have Shelley Shepard Gray back with us on the show. Hi, Shelley.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I'm super excited to have you back because the last time you were on, we talked about book one in the Pinecraft series that you have going, and now we get to talk about book two.
I am. I'm excited to tell you about Her Only Wish.
Mhm.
This season, the Pinecraft series has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed getting to visit with a lot of people and introduce them to the idea of an Amish snowbird community in Florida.
That is so
So
cool. I love it. And do you know, here's what's funny is after we had that conversation about Amish in Florida, which was the first I'd ever heard about it, then it seemed like every time I went online and was looking at different, just random things, stuff would pop up about Amish in Florida. And I'm like,
it's a
was
thing,
somebody
right?
eavesdropping or
Right, right,
am I
right.
just noticing it because we talked about it?
Right. No, I found that too. The first time I visited, I just was like, I had no idea this was here for 40, 50 years. And so now I'm always looking to hear like if I can, find something new about Pinecraft that I haven't learned before.
Yeah, yeah, that's super, super fun. And I love it's just, I don't know what it is about the Amish, but they're so synonymous in my mind of being in that Midwestern, place with farmland and things. And so then all of a sudden you have the Amish on the beach in Florida, and you're like, where'd this come from?
Oh, I know. It really made me inspired. I mean, I have written about Amish all over. I mean, in Kentucky, Ohio, you name it. And so, but it really has made me inspired. Like maybe I need to do Amish all over the place. And
Yeah.
there's some New Order Amish. They are missionaries in Mexico. I always thought that would be kind of fun. There's another as a conservative Mennonite community, but they're all in Belize. I keep
Oh,
trying to
wow.
tell my editors, don't you think I need to go to Belize and do some research
Research.
and do an Amish community book there? And I haven't convinced them yet, but maybe one day.
Well, when you try to convince them, then add on making your launch party in Belize for your fans to come
That's
help you
right. That's
launch the
right.
book.
And the editors, yeah,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sure they would want to go too. We could just make it. We'll do a party in January when it's just so
Love
so
it.
miserable everywhere else.
Love it. I love it. I will even put on Amish garb and I will
That's
come and
right.
give
That's
full
right.
respect to the Amish community. Well, tell us a little bit about book two and where we're at now in Her Only Wish, which is the title.
I'm so excited about this story because it's a little bit different. My heroine's name is Betsy, and I actually based her on my sister-in-law, whose name was Betsy.
Neat.
Betsy passed away of cancer when she was just 50,
Mm.
but she left along behind her a huge legacy of trying new things and impacting a wide variety of people. And years ago, when she passed away, I remember sitting in her memorial service, just being so touched by the number of people that came up and said, "Oh, I knew Betsy because of X, Y, and Z," and just things I hadn't even realized she had done. So, this character of Betsy is Amish, and she's in her mid 20s. And what happened was, is she was asthmatic as a child. And her parents just not really trusting a lot of medical advice. They really kept her just at close to home. They didn't want her to have to go in the hospital again. And so she didn't get to do a lot of things. So she arrives in Pinecraft with a life list. And everyone's like, it's a bucket list, right? And she said, no, 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 I don't feel like I've really lived yet. I'm not
Mm,
trying to look for things to do before I die. I'm looking for things to do that I wish I've already done.
I love that.
And and at the top of the list is she wants to learn to ride a bike, which she's never done, and she wants to learn to play. She wants to complete a full round of golf. and learn to swim. And all of these things she keeps telling everyone, I don't need to win a golf tournament. I don't need to be able to do a 20-mile bike ride. I don't
Right.
even need to be able to swim in the ocean. I just want to be able to experience these things.
Hmm.
And I just want to enjoy the process of learning and doing.
Yeah.
So her goals really resonated with me because I think all of us, especially, I don't know, when you get to your 30s, 40s, 50s, whenever, and you just start thinking, gosh, I was so just adventurous in my when I was little
Yeah.
and as a teen. And I was willing to give anything a try. But the older you get, the more you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I could get hurt. Maybe
Hmm.
it costs too much money. Maybe it's going to inconvenience everyone on this trip because I want to do this that no one
Right.
else wants to do. And you can think of just a lot of reasons, but Betsy is kind of on her own and she's just like, I'm going to do this. So it kind of is neat that the first scene in her only wish is she is wandering around on this golf course. She has an appointment with a golf pro, and she's going to ask him to teach her just the basics. And she doesn't understand why nobody's on this beautiful grass. So anyway, she almost gets hit by a golf ball,
Oh,
and the hero is like, you obviously need some help. He turns out he's the pro. His name is August,
how
and
fun.
that is how the hero and heroine
Okay.
meet, is on an Amish golf course in Florida, which again, a lot of people would imagine no one who's Amish would ever want to play golf. They absolutely do. Anyway, as the story goes on, she does just meet one person after another. She meets a lady and her sister who are English, and turns out one of them knows how to give swimming lessons. They have a swimming pool, and Betsy ends up inspiring almost every single person in the book to have a life list of their own and to
Yeah.
push themselves a little bit more. And because of that, there's a lot of relationships that are healed,
Hmm.
and they all feel that God's been just waiting for them all just to believe in Him and other people and just
Yeah.
push themselves a little bit, maybe stop living so safe and
Yeah.
taking more chances. And so that is the gist of her only wish.
That sounds like such a neat book. Okay, so there's several things you talked about, and I want to explore them all. But the first one I have to ask, you mentioned it was an Amish golf course. So is there actually golf courses specifically for Amish, or is this Amish people visiting a typical golf course?
I have in this book, it's a Amish centered Mennonite, it's a Mennonite and Amish centered golf course.
Okay.
Now, the reason I put this is if you go to Pinecraft, there really is an Amish golf shop, and they're out playing on the golf
I
courses.
love it.
Now, I know Amish up in
Yeah.
Ohio in the summer, and I'll visit with a woman. I'd be like, "Where's your husband? I thought he was going to be around." She's like, "Oh, he decided to go play 9 holes." So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's, guys are guys. They like to play golf, I guess,
Right.
and
Right.
women like
And women. Yeah.
Lyndon do too. So anyway, so I kind of took a little bit of liberties making it an Amish owned,
Sure.
Amish centered golf course. But I do have people of all sorts show up and want to play a round of golf.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a disservice that we do to the Amish community, is making assumptions that they are so far removed that they don't do anything fun, or they don't do anything besides farm, or I don't know, some stereotype that we have of them, which is really, especially learning from you, not at all true.
Well, and Jamie, I did the same thing. I mean, when I first started, I didn't know a lot. And
Mm.
so as I got more and more relationships and more visits to the Amish communities, I remember the first time I was at this park that a lot of the Amish with, and all the kids are playing basketball. And
Mm.
it just was like, huh. And I
Yeah.
think, well, why didn't I think they'd want to play sports?
Right. Yeah.
But back then I was like, oh, they would never want to ever like I guess I just thought the Amish teenagers always just wanted to sit around and talk. Anyone who's had teenagers know that that's not
No,
gonna go very far.
no,
If that's how I expect them to do, something's gonna happen. So of course they're gonna be, riding bikes
right.
or doing whatever kids like to do, no matter where they are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's impressive that you have a I'm laughing because your heroine wants to try golf. And the first time I tried golf, I ended up chucking the golf club with my hand because I was so frustrated.
Right?
I was like,
I
this is not working.
I know soon after I had my kids, I mean, my children are 30 now, but I mean, when they were toddlers, I used to be a teacher, so I was home on the summer. And
Hmm.
my husband really encouraged me to get a babysitter just for a couple of hours, one day a week, and go do something.
Yeah.
And so I decided, oh, I'm going to learn to play golf. And I thought it was going to be so fun. And that's what I based a lot of these lessons for Betsy with, because for me it was very challenging, and
Uh-huh.
I didn't really enjoy it unless I completely didn't take it seriously at all. So sometimes I would go out with my husband, and I think I kind of annoyed him by the time we got to the fifth or sixth hole, because I mean I would just be like, oops, and
Right.
I know, and oh, I've hit it 8 times, I think I'll just pick it up and carry it for a while, and
Right.
he'd be like, wait a minute, you're supposed to keep score. So
Yes.
it was kind of fun, just to give the golf scenes, from the perspective of someone who she has no great desire to be a pro. She just wants to finish a game, a
Yeah.
golf game.
Just try it
So
and
just
not get
try
and
it.
not get
Just
hit by a
try it.
golf cart.
Right, to be able to say, you know what, this isn't the game for me, but at least
Right.
I gave it a try. At least I
Yeah.
know what I don't want to do, instead of never
Exactly.
being allowed to try. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, now my experiences on the golf course are limited, and when I do get out, it's merely to walk alongside my husband and help him keep score, and then I just find a golf ball or something and call it my pet. So I take care of my little golf ball pet.
I know. Every once in a while, I'll go and I'll be like, "Can I drive the golf course?" And he's like, "Sure, Shelley, off
There
you
you
go."
go.
You do your part. But it is fun to be
Yeah.
outside,
Mhm.
and again, I sometimes when I've written so many Amish novels, I always love the idea of creating some new scenes that
Yeah.
might feel fresh for a reader. And
Mhm.
for me, at least, this did seem a little different than maybe the average expectation of an Amish romance.
Yeah, yeah. Well, before we shift gears into the next question, I just want to mention to everybody listening that this episode is sponsored by Baker Publishing Group, and you can go to bakerbookhouse.com, and you can get Shelley's book for 40% off if you use the Madlit 40 promotional code. So remember Madlit 40, and you can get Shelley's new book and even more books, because why not? But you can get 40%. Madlet 40. So you get 40% off one of your copies of books. Okay, so Shelley, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned a life list versus a bucket list. What inspired you outside of the story to really focus in on the concept of living life versus preparing to die?
It really was my sister-in-law Betsy,
Okay.
who inspired me, and just I love that this lady who had trained, she'd gone to Harvard, she was a doctor,
Mhm.
and yet she decided she wanted to make gourmet chocolates. And then when she was in 40, she was like, I think I've always wanted to learn how to play the drums. So she took up drums. Next thing you know, she's in a band.
Wow.
And she was like, I'm not a great drummer, but I don't need to be a great drummer. I'm just having fun.
Hmm.
And then she decided to take up running, and she had never done any sport ever in her life. She was
Wow.
always the bookworm. And so yeah, when that's what made me think of this life list,
Yeah.
is at, like I said, at her memorial service, a lot of people came up, and it was a big service, and I just assumed all these women were there and men because Betsy had delivered their
Sure.
babies, and no, they were like, oh, I was on her chocolate list, or oh, I took drums with her, or oh, I became a fan of her band, or oh, I met her when we were both trying to do our first
Mm,
5K. And it is just realized she had a full life. I mean,
yeah.
she inspired a lot of people.
Mm,
So really that is the inspiration, is just you just couldn't help you were sad to see my real sister-in-law be gone, but
right.
you couldn't help but be just like, you know what? She packed an awful lot into her years. Maybe it
Yeah.
inspired, I think, all of everyone there to say, I need to take more chances. And instead of saying, I'll wait till I'm older or whenever to give something a try, maybe I'll try it right now.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I really like that because it makes you focus too on not just yourself and last dying wishes, so to speak, but
Right.
how those adventures that you may do for yourself also can affect other people and
Mm.
encourage them too. Like you mentioned some keywords there. You mentioned a chocolate list. Can we
Yeah.
explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, you can just tell how much I admired her. But
Yeah.
I mean, really, I love to bake, but I mean, nothing I make is all that fancy, and it's certainly not Instagram picture worthy. It's just a cake.
Yeah.
But she would make these beautiful chocolate truffles. Next thing you know, she's like learning how to temper milk chocolate, and then she'll take orders, and then she started making tins and giving them out. She'd do work on these for like a month in September and
Wow.
October. And her list just kept getting bigger and bigger. I mean, people she went to church with,
Yeah.
some of her patients, coworkers, people in the band, family.
Wow.
My son and daughter, I mean, they'd be like, are we on Aunt Betsy's chocolate list? And that was the chocolate list.
That
And
I love that.
we all were like, this is a great list to be on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a really good list to be on. Although I was thinking if I was going to create my own list to put special people on, they're probably just going to get a bag of Hershey's chocolates because I am not going to I can't physically make truffles.
I don't have the patience. I'm
No.
the queen of it's good enough, which is
Mhm.
not necessarily the way to make beautiful gourmet chocolate. But and I have thought of that. I'm like, I make a pretty good cookies. I
There you
think I
go.
could give a lot of cookies to people. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun. It's been fun to while writing this book to really do a little bit
Hmm.
of thinking and also the faith message is strong too.
Yeah.
I think God just really gives us so many qualities and gifts,
Yeah.
and He's just waiting for you to just give them, just to fulfill them. I
Yeah.
mean, I think a lot about. I was teaching school. I had gone to get my master's. I was going to be a principal one day, but really, if you got me in a room and said, "But Shelley, what do you really love to do?" I would used to whisper, well, I really love to write,
Mm,
and I don't
yeah.
want to write a big literary fiction. I want to write a romance novel.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I was afraid to do that because
Hmm.
I thought, oh, well, everyone's going to say, one, you're not very good. And two, don't you think you should be wanting to write something else? And it wasn't until my husband was like, well, you should just keep doing this. Like you need to
Yeah.
find value in it. God obviously gave you these
Yeah.
qualities
Hmm.
and wants you to put these stories in your head to words.
Right.
So I think we all have them, whether it's making chocolates or volunteering or teaching school or writing books. I mean, you
Yeah.
name it, playing golf. We all have these qualities that maybe he is just waiting for us to explore and to do him proud.
Hmm. Well, and I think too, sometimes we diminish those qualities or talents or dreams even because we think about the concept of, oh, well, it's not saving people in a third world country, or it's not, helping the homeless, or it's not doing something classically heroic,
I
writing a book.
agree.
you know, is that heroic? In someone's life,
No.
it probably feels
Yeah,
that way though when they
yeah,
pick it up.
yeah.
But yeah, you know where I'm going with that?
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
And it is funny, Jamie, what you're saying. I mean, it's just like your podcasts, I mean, they are fulfilling to all of us,
right.
right? It's so nice when you're driving to hear something inspiring.
Yeah,
And I feel like a lot of what, all of us do, maybe we don't see it for how other people view it.
right.
I know sometimes I mean, I'm always just on deadline, so I'm thinking, well, I need to write my 10 pages today so then I
Mhm.
can go for a walk.
Right.
Or and I don't think of it. I mean, I sometimes I'm just like, well, this wasn't my husband will go, well, how was your writing today? And I'm like, nothing was very good, but at least I got it done.
Right.
And so I think it's easy sometimes to minimize what we
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
thinking, well, it could be better or more
Mhm.
important, or exactly what you said. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, saving lives or
Right. Right.
whatever. It's but I think we all, like I said before, I think all of us can affect people in different ways and maybe
Absolutely.
more than we ever realize.
Yeah. And sometimes it's that quiet service and that humility of just doing what God asks us to do. And even if we don't understand, how is God going to use me in telling a fictionalized story about, you know, in your case, an Amish woman in Florida, in my case, a woman trying to avoid certain death. Um,
Yeah.
like what's God going to do out of this? And then, you get those letters or those emails from people and you're like, wow. And sometimes have you gotten those where you get something from a reader and you're like, I totally didn't even know that was in my book. Like a little tidbit that they gleaned that, that was the Lord teaching them, not something I planned.
Oh no, I agree. I absolutely agree. And it's just is so humbling and you're
Yeah.
so grateful. You're
Hmm.
grateful that somebody just felt like, that reading your book or was worth their time.
Hmm.
I always just think that books are expensive
Yeah.
and a 300-400 page novel takes a while, takes
Right.
up someone's valuable time.
Yeah.
So I always write for readers because I feel like if they're willing to pick up one of my books at the library or even at the bookstore, then
Hmm.
I don't want them to feel like, wow, I wish I would have gotten something else. I want them to be just like, that
Yeah.
was, I felt happy reading that,
Yeah.
or that I got away from my problems, or maybe in a case like this, boy, I'm gonna go try to do something I've always been
Right.
thinking I would like to, and stop worrying what everyone else says about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who knows?
I think that's great. I love it. I like the concept of that life list versus the bucket list because there's something kind of dooming about a bucket list. And then you sort of feel like I'm going to run out of time. But with a life
Right.
list, it's just let's just live and do a list of things that we want to do and try and see what happens.
Right. And I think it sure takes the pressure off of
Yeah,
it too. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Well, it sounds like your sister-in-law, Betsy, left quite a legacy behind.
she did, and I think if she was listening to us today or here, I think she would be shocked. I think
Yeah.
she would. I don't think she ever would have imagined that
Mhm.
making chocolates for other people for 10, 12 years would even be memorable.
Right,
I
right.
just I think she just did, and
Yeah.
and again, I think there's a lot of people listening right now that can just point to someone in their life, or maybe there's a lot of people in their lives
Mhm.
and they just do their best,
Yep.
and they do for others, and they don't think it really makes much of a difference, but
Right.
it certainly does, and
Right.
it is so appreciated by others.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Well, the book is titled Her Only Wish. It is out right now, so people can snatch it up and read it. You can find it at libraries and bookstores and bakerbookhouse.com with Madlet40 for your promo code to get 40% off. And do we need to read book one in the series before we read Betsy's story? Or can we read Bessie's
You
story?
don't have to. The first book is called Her Heart's Desire, and it's a trilogy.
Okay.
The last book, Her Secret Hope, it comes out in November. So this is a trilogy about three friends who all go to Florida for different reasons.
Mhm.
But if you read Bessie's story, you aren't going to be completely lost at all. And so at the very least, I guess you might be like, oh, is she's really good friends with this happy gal named Mary Margaret. Maybe I should read book one and see how
Yeah.
she got so content with her life.
I love it.
So,
I love it. Oh,
yeah.
Shelley. Well, this is great. I'm guessing probably we'll have to have you back for book 3 because we got to finish out this trilogy
Yeah.
in
Well,
November. But
I would be delighted. I really appreciate your time and getting the chance to talk about this book.
oh
It
yeah.
means a lot. I
Oh,
appreciate it. Thank you.
for sure. Well, you have a wonderful day.
You also. You take care now.
Will do.